we're safe, all is well. And this is one thing that what we're talking about. Our topic for today is let it flow. And we're this whole month of October we're talking about living everyday wonder. That's our theme for the year. But this month we're talking about finances. So last week we talked about swimming in the infinite ocean. God is everywhere. If you're looking for God, you're in the middle of it. You are it. God is everywhere present. And God is all there is. And so this week, we're looking at how that universal abundance, that is the nature of the universe, how it flows into creation and it manifests in our lives as prosperity, love, health, wholeness, peace, wisdom. All those wonderful God qualities that we're seeking are already a part of our DNA, of who we are, about the intention for us and our lives. And so we begin with then the question, why is it that some people personally experience universal abundance and others don't? If that's who we really are, how do we learn to let it flow in our lives? Now, when we do a spiritual mind treatment, that's what we call our scientific way of prayer, affirmative prayer, and we have 5 steps of treatment. And if you're here all month, you'll get all 5 steps. But the first one is God is all there is, and the second one is that I am one with God. Whatever God is, I am. And so if God, the infinite invisible, is going to express itself in physical form, it does so through its creation. Everything moves from that infinite potential into form. E equals mc squared. And so God expresses itself through us. We're the vehicle for it to express itself in the physical manifestation. And we are part of that creation. Now, Ernest Holmes, in the textbook, Science Mind textbook, he said, here and now, we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. Right? And how much of it may we have to use? As much of it as we can embody. So if we have a little thimble, that's how much we get. If we have a cup, we get that. If we have a barrel, we get that. And if we open our hearts wide, we have all of it. Right? But we need to be receptive. And this is true of each and every person, regardless of whether or not they realize it. So whatever is true about our infinite divine source is true about us. Right? So think of the universal abundance as a continuous flow that is going through from the divine source through a hose out into the world and into our lives. And so we have to make 2 choices that control the flow. So the one choice is that we decide where that flow is going to be directed. Right? And so we're going to talk more about that next week. But the other choice we're going to talk about this morning, it's about what is the size of the hose and whether or not we're going to, if the hose is flowing along here, are we going to stand on top of it and clog that flow so it's just a little trickle getting through? Or are we going to step off of it and let it flow unimpaired, fully into our lives? That's the choice that we're making. So our consciousness and beliefs are what control and limit the divine flow to what we believe we really deserve to receive. If we want to fully express our divine nature, we need to carefully choose our beliefs to be about spiritual truth and who we are, rather than the false beliefs that are so common in the world. We've been taught many of these beliefs from childhood. And so one important belief is how we see money. Right? Now, some people have a false belief. They think they're very religious, that poverty is more spiritual than wealth. Well, abundance is the nature of the universe, and God is pretty abundant, pretty rich, beautiful world, and so we're a part of that world. So it's not definitely not more sacred to be impoverished than it is to be living in plenty and have plenty to share. Right? Now, other people know that energy is just a form of sacred energy, and that there's great spiritual teachers like Jesus, Abraham, Muhammad, Lao Tzu, Buddha. All of them had wealth in their lives, and they put it into practice in their lives. Right? They started with this natural abundance and curiosity, and they shared that with the world. All right? But money is just a form of energy. All right, it's what we do with it. It's like nuclear energy. You can make power, or you can blow things up. I mean, it's what we do with it. It's just an energy. Now, some of us also believe that we have dreams that are meant to prosper us and others, right? And that others believe that we have to give up those dreams so that we can, limit our creativity so we can have a job and, pay the bills and, just get by. I mean, that's the way, you suffer and then you die. Well, not really. Those dreams are divinely implanted. They're part of the intention of who we are, right? So we have many of these deep set beliefs. I could go on and on and on about money and prosperity that, whether we realize it or not, they are what are limiting or enhancing that flow of the universal abundance in our lives. It's difficult to see for ourselves. When we're experiencing lack and limitation, it's like you're in a rut, you're in a big hole, and you can't see out of it. I mean, what am I doing? These were the way I was taught to be as a child, or in my church as a child, or through the school of hard knocks. I'm surviving, and well, in order to see what those beliefs are that we need to release, and what that spiritual truth is, many times it does help to work with a guide, a spiritual guide. So you can work with a practitioner or a minister, or there's some great books that we have in our library available in bookstore. We also have classes on prosperity. So it really helps to have someone guide you through that process and release it. There's nothing awful. We don't need to feel guilty about where we are. The only real problem with that is that if we stay there, but that's our choice too, right? So I think for me, it was probably the third or fourth book or class that I read about prosperity before it finally found that little place within me that was holding me back, and where I could really let go and trust Spirit as my source, right? And so I know that it takes work, but I know that it can be done, and in my life and my husband, we've done very well. But there was a week I had $35 to feed me and my husband and our child. So I've been on the other end too. So all of this then, our most important work that we do is at the level of our deepest beliefs, to clear out our consciousness of congestion and anything that restricts the flow of the divine, of that universal abundance. So let's then come back to the question of why some people experience abundance in their lives while others don't. Why is it so important what we believe? Now, as Ernest Holmes stated in the reading Nancy read for us this morning, all of our thoughts are creative. So think about it. When a seed gets planted, the creative power of the soil and the water and the nutrients begin to work immediately upon the soil. Doesn't care whether it's a watermelon seed or it's a pine tree, a chrysanthemum, or a weed. They all get treated the same. Those seeds get germinated, and our thoughts get germinated, whether ones that are going to support our greater good or ones that are going to limit it. And so the universe is always saying, yes, you're right. Yes, so whatever you plant, okay, I guess you want watermelon. I'll give you watermelon. Oh, you want to try and have watermelon growing in the middle of the winter? Well, maybe not so good. If whatever you want to plant, right? And so these thoughts then embody our mental atmosphere that we create around us and correspond with what we experience in our lives. In Proverbs 4:23, it says, "Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life," that Colleen was singing about this morning. And so it's in our heart of hearts, what we really believe deep down inside of us. That's what's controlling. We can talk about it, we have all these hopes, but it's what we really believe in our heart of hearts that does control what we experience. And Nancy also read about the law of attraction. Like attracts like. And so our mental atmosphere is always attracting what matches our beliefs and repelling what does not match. It doesn't matter whether it's what's best for us or the highest impossibility for us, but it's whatever matches. That's what counts, right? Now, if you take it another level deeper, I'd like to suggest that it's about the law of radiation. All right. So what we radiate out then becomes our experience of life. That's our. That's what we're broadcasting to be matched. That's what we're attracting. So, what you give out is what you circles back to us. And so, if I have dysfunctional beliefs about wealth, that's what I radiate. What resonates with those beliefs is what's come back to me. And so, when I consciously connect with my inner infinite self, then I open up the full force of divine nature itself. I enact the divine nature in human form. And what we radiate also affects those around us. In this morning reading, Holmes spoke of the atmosphere of confidence and strength that successful people have. That's why they have success in all the things they do. But he also says, in the presence of some people, we feel as if there is nothing we're too great to undertake. We are uplifted. We are inspired to do great things. To accomplish, to feel strong and steady and sure. What a power we feel in the presence of big souls, strong men and noble women, right? I remember the minister in Salt Lake City. He had this very moving experience, and so Salt Lake is where the home of the Mormons, and so he got on an elevator in an office building one time, and it was mostly full elevator. He walked in, and he turned around to the front, but behind him there was this energy that he could just feel, and he just felt, oh, everything's okay. And when he turned around, it was the president of the Mormon Church, right? So he had that consciousness. He was prayed up, and it went around, that aura that was around him. It was something that he could feel. So our heart's desires then are our greatest assets. This is the divine intention of who we are. It guides us where that infinite creative force wants to express itself in and through and as us. We are a unique part of the divine. We're wearing white today, and it's part of the remembering that the rainbow, all of the colors unite into the color of white, that then, with a crystal can spread out into all the different colors. But it all starts as the one, and that's where we all start. And so we're each part of that rainbow, all right? Without us, there's something incomplete in the universe. We're really important and unique and wonderful. And so when we turn off that heart's desire and we stop listening to spirit within, we might do it because we have no idea. That's too big for me to do. I don't know how to do that, at least now, for the moment. And we believe that desire is, maybe it's bad or wrong. Maybe it's something that, I can't do that. That would really be, when I was growing up, it was the whole thing of, go be a working mother. There was this big controversy. What about my kids? Are they going to suffer? But I had this urge to be an engineer, and so God, took care of us. We had some wonderful nannies that helped us with our kids when we were little, and they showed up at just the right time. I was amazed. So our job then is to get clear about what it is that we desire. What is that divine intention to manifest through us, and then trust spirit to manifest it. Ernest Holmes in the book Creative Mind and Success, he said, we become attracted to something that is greater than our previous experience by first embodying the atmosphere of our desire. So we embody it in our minds and in our hearts, in that mental atmosphere first, and then it becomes manifest in the world. Right? And so then we have to get out of the way, take our foot off that hose, and let spirit manifest it through us. And it's amazing what comes through, isn't it? And some of the world's greatest mystics have described their experiences of the divine with some of their most memorable quotes. So I'd like to share a few with you this morning. So one of the influencers of Ernest Holmes was Waldo Emerson. And in his essay called Spiritual Laws, he says, "Let us take our bloated nothingness out of the path of the divine circuits. let us unlearn our wisdom of the world. Right? So if we've got, if we let go of what our ego thinks is the truth, but is really our bloated nothingness and our observations of the physical world based on, what's already happened, well, when we let go of that and turn within, we focus on that magnificence of the divine flow, of those greater possibilities and who we truly are, right? Thomas Merton had a mystical experience of what it means to be one with all people as incarnations of God. Now, Merton was a Trappist monk, and on March 18th, 1958, he was running errands for the monastery where he lived in Louisville, Kentucky. And he had an experience that would change his life. And this is how he describes it in his book, Conjectures of a Guilty Bystander. In Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, which as you can see behind that sign is a, just plain place in the middle of the town, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with a realization that I loved all those people, that they were mine and I theirs, and that we could not be alien to one another even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness, of spurious self-isolation in a special world, the world of renunciation and supposed holiness, the monastery where he lived. This sense of liberation from an illusory difference was such a relief and such a joy to me that I almost laughed out loud. I have the immense joy of being human, a member of a race in which God himself became incarnate. As if the sorrows and stupidities of the human condition could overwhelm me. Now I realize what we all are. Right? And if only everybody could realize this. But it cannot be explained. There is no way of telling people that they are all walking around shining like the sun. All right? We see that in a child. They just shine like the sun. Right? Merton realized that his life in a monastery separated away from the everyday world was no more holy than the glorious existence of each and every person who is an incarnation of the one life that is God. How could I say that you're anything other than wonderful? Because you are God in form, right? And so even for Merton, he realized that some beliefs that we think are true are time-honored, such as the definition of what's holy, don't necessarily stand the test of, being examined by the eyes of spirit. And so to know that spiritual truth, requires contemplating the divine, that with our hearts and minds, being open to new thoughts. It's that direct experience of the divine through our spiritual practice. That's where it really all is, right? Being one with spirit. So I'd like to close with the words of Hafez, who was a 14th century Sufi poet. He said, "One day the sun admitted, 'I am just a shadow. I wish I could show you the infinite incandescent that has cast my brilliant image. I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being.'" Right? So this week I invite you to clear your consciousness of any conjecture or of false beliefs that might be restricting that flow of the divine universal abundance in your life. The amazing brilliance of the infinite invisible is always shining, always expressing itself as you, in you, through you, and all of humanity, right? We only need to get ourselves, our smallness, out of the way and let our greatness shine through. This is how we let the natural abundance of the universe show up in our lives in ways that surprise and delight us, right? So bravely and consciously, take your foot off that hose of universal abundance and let it flow. Right? So let's take this to prayer. So as I go within, I let go of all the things that I have used to hold me up, to protect me. And in this place that is safe, the still small voice of spirit gently reminds me that I am God's beloved daughter, God's beloved son, and that I have been created with the divine intention of living life at all of its fullness and wonder, and being a voice for love in the world, a voice for peace, a voice for wholeness and joy. And as I let that be the truth of me, that small flame grows stronger and brighter and more vivid, and I allow it to flow through me and out in all directions, and that golden light flows out into the world, and it meets golden light everywhere. It is like a new day has dawned when the sun rises into the sky and shines brightly, warming and healing all of life. And I allow myself to live in that flow of knowing who I am, of knowing that the flow is infinite. All that I need is provided. All is good. All is well. And so in knowing this, I know this is also the truth of each person here, that they are a beautiful, wonderful creation. And I know that they are guided on the path to release whatever it is that has been limiting them, and to embrace that wholeness that has always been there, waiting to be received. The gift has been given. It is up to us to receive it. And so we let go and let God. Our lives are full, and we let it spill out into the world, healing and touching and warming all of life. Our brothers and sisters, lifting them up. It is healing this community. It is healing our country and all of the strife that is going on in the red and the blue and it is all one. And it is circling the world, touching each life in every country. Every thought is one of peace, of wholeness, of love, of knowing that it is all God and it is all good, and we are all one. And so we are all lifted up together to know this, to feel it, to accept it, and to be it as who we are. And so it is with great gratitude that I release these words to the law, knowing that it is already done, and even greater are unfolding right here and right now. And so it is, and so I let it be.